That is pretty awesome. She's still bubbling. That is so cool. As you can see, it's just rising. Well, I can see. I don't know if you can see, but it's just creating that dome. This starter is quite active and just smells amazing. It's quite interesting to see. So I'm going to feed her now. I have all this stuff here. I'm going to feed her. She is still bubbling away there. Oh my goodness, how amazing is that? So amazing. So I have my big jar of discard here. I have two different colors in here because typically I use rye flour and all-purpose flour, a mixture of both, to feed her. And yes, it is a her. It is a little pet essentially. A sourdough starter is alive. It is a living thing, so it's alive. It's live bacteria in there. So another thing that I don't, let me see, hold on a second. What I'm gonna do is some people clean their jars, they wipe their jars down. Some people change their jars out often, and some people like me, I do a little bit of both. I clean and I switch out the jars. I have a couple of jars that I alternate between. But yeah, she is needing to be fed. Look at that. It's just amazing. So I have my big jar here of discard. There's two different colors in there because typically I would feed her just rye. Not just rye. I would feed her a mixture between rye flour as well as all-purpose unbleached flour. And I ran out of my rye, so I was just feeding her organic unbleached flour. So that is why there's a different color. There are different colors in there. I had tried to just switch to just organic unbleached flour before, but I found that the rye really does give it a really good rise. It just does a lot better with the rye. But since she's pretty much established really well, I have no problem now with just the all-purpose. However, I am going to start by feeding her rye just because I have it. I did buy another bag and it works really, really well. But again, I've been getting such an amazing rise out of this. So I don't actually see the need to go back to rye, but I will eventually. Some people I see have problems getting a starter. I always use bottled water or filtered water in some way to feed my starter. And again, I do not measure. As you can tell, I just kind of scooped some in there, poured some in there. There's no scale around here. Well, it's in my drawer, but I'm not about to pull that out because ain't nobody got time for that. I just look for a nice thick pancake batter-like consistency. Sometimes it might even be a little bit thinner, or sometimes a little bit thicker, and it has done well at all times. Another thing is you do want to check for mold in this. Pink and orange mold is something that you want to look out for. Of course, there's other different, black and stuff. There's hooch, and there's so much different things when it comes to your starter. I'm gonna lightly cover this tomorrow. I can see my jar. This is actually a glass. This is a drinking glass. I found it to be one of the best things because I don't use a cover. I just use either a piece of cling wrap or, well, when I use a glass, I use a piece of cling wrap. To just like loosely cover it, just like that. I don't know what that is. And yeah, so this is just gonna sit here overnight, and in the morning I'll just discard her and feed her again. Now I can actually just place that in the fridge and keep it, because it's established already, I can keep it in the fridge. I don't want to. I want her to continue to grow I will continue discarding, and I use the discard in pancakes. It's one of my favorite things to use the discard in. I've done waffles before. I'm not a huge fan of the waffles because you do have to let that ferment. So I've tried the waffles before. I prefer the pancakes because the waffles are really sour in taste. You do have to kind of leave it overnight to ferment on the counter. After you mix everything in, except like the eggs. I can't remember. I saw a recipe online, but it was just a little bit too sour for me, and I wasn't a fan of the extreme sourness. So this discard is a huge big jar, and this is essentially the same thing. I know a lot of people were like, this is just, you're gonna have to use this because you're not feeding your discard, so it will eventually, you have to use it within a certain time frame. I believe it's like 3 to 4 weeks that can last in the fridge because it is staying in the fridge, and this will be done. I mean, I will go through half of this and just, you know, there's chocolate chip cookies, there are pancakes that I've made before that we really like. The brownies are really good. There's a very tangy flavor to the brownies, which goes surprisingly well with chocolate. So that is a quick video on my starter, feeding my starter, my discard. I've always enjoyed making bread, and my first recipe on here was my dinner rolls, and I still make dinner rolls. I still love my dinner rolls, and of course just working with dough in general. So this has just been something to add on to that, add on to my love of baking and my love of working with dough.